So I was out on the big water on Clear Lake and my trim up stopped working. So got down. Of course now it works. There we go. So I'm intermittent at best. Not something that's reliable nor safe in the big water of Clear Lake. So one way I know it's a switch is it's intermittent. The other way I know is if I come up to my bow, trim up works, trim down works. Another test is a simple switch on the side of the motor here. Trim up works, trim down works. If either or both of your functions don't work here, and they don't work either on the motor or up at your bow if you have those controls, it could also be your trim limiting switch on the side of the motor or a solenoid. If everything doesn't work, it's most likely a solenoid. So let's get into fixing this on my 1996 Ranger with a Yamaha. In there we got a couple of screws. So we're just going to remove those. Make sure you keep that little lock washer with your screw. With those two screws removed, I should be able to pull this throttle arm off quite easily. Now we just need to open up this little access door to expose this screw. Okay, screw and washer come off. Now, the screw we just pulled off is more of a pan head and doesn't have the flathead screw. Okay. Be careful with this because it's going to have a spring on it. Right there. Okay, now we can see into this throttle handle. And we have a couple of screws that hold in a bracket that looks like it holds in that switch. But we have one of the screws here, one of the screws here. So we'll remove those. Don't lose your little lock washers. Whoever assembled this or last got in here was very generous with the grease. Indeed. Does that one have a washer? No washer on that one. I don't know if that's missing or by design. Okay, so that loosens up this plastic housing off of there. So we're gonna have to allow slack back here at the base so that the wire can pull up and out. Okay. All right. So that had a double wrap on it. Sorry, that had a single wrap on it. That allows me to pull this apart. Switch comes out nicely. I'm going to fold this rubber sleeve back upon itself. There we go. And then disassemble the switch. Looking inside there, I can see a lot of corrosion. My contacts just need to be cleaned. Yep, we're just going to clean up a bunch of contacts here. Of great importance is not to lose this little conductor rod. Not only is it something you're going to clean, but it can easily fall out of its little receiver, or its housing, right there. So I got myself set up with some very, very fine wet dry sandpaper, or you can use an emery cloth, anything that you use to clean your connectors. I'm just going to get all these surfaces free of any corrosion. When it comes to electrical connectors, if it shines, it's divine. Okay, that's nice and clean. Okay, you can see the difference now on that one. Nice and shiny, free of corrosion. Black spots and corrosion problems. Okay, shiny, shiny. I'm sure that was my problem. And the center of the other side is where this little pin's going to make its contact. Now, you can always buy a new switch too if you don't want to take this apart. But honestly, then you're chasing that whole wiring harness and finding where it connects to. And I don't know how much that switch is, but it's a Yamaha part, so it's going to be in the 30s, 40s. I don't know, if you're lucky it's a $20 switch. Why not fix it? Plus it just makes you that much more confident and attached to your boat. It's good to know how things work, right? Since my trim down worked, it wasn't corrosion in this area of the switch that was a problem, but since I have it open, I'm going to be very thorough. I'm going to clean all my surfaces so I get good conduction. That's looking pretty good. There's just a little groove in there that I want to clean out. Sandpaper won't get down in there, so I just got a little pick. Okay, clean and clean. That's what we're looking for. Okay. Alright, so I pulled it out. Hopefully you can see this. There's a little spring in here that keeps this little conductor pin in contact. So you just want to reach in there with a little pick or a screwdriver and make sure that spring is in there. If it isn't, the hunt is on. A magnet might help you, because it'll be down on the floor somewhere with all your little bits of soft plastic and braid and mono. So we're just going to fit that back in there. Point side out. Make sure that spring can exercise. So, yep, it's going to keep tension on that. Perfect. Now, if you're going to go walking around the shop or climbing up in the boat, make sure you keep that upright. It's a good idea to keep it in your hand. There was a lot of corrosion on that contact. This one ain't looking so hot either. Well, this switch is definitely cycled a few times. It's got pitting where it makes contact, which just means that it's arced. That could be due to the corrosion that was on here. Could be from not fully activating the switch and having current jump the gap. But there. Inside we have two very clean contacts now. Hopefully that shows up. Now it's time to reassemble the switch. So your little contact points that we cleaned off are going to go down. That sits in there like a seesaw. That'll make sense when you dig in there and look at it. Okay, time for the test. Trims up, trims down. Looks like we got a successful fix. So let's finish putting this switch together. Now, confirm my housing's nice and locked on there in the tabs. I'll go ahead and put this rubber gasket back in place. Like so. My switch pushes back in. I'm going to line up my wires nice and clean. Slide the arm back up. Lay my wires nice and flat. Take my screw without the washer. I'm going to assume that's how it was supposed to come. Now we got to find the other pan screw with the washer. Pan screw with lock washer. Okay, now inside my unit there's directions to wind that wire 2 turns to the left. So to the left, I'm going to just call counterclockwise. And on your housing, there's a little cutout here to receive the wire. And you want this notch to direct right up the channel. So that it can receive this lever, which, as you recall, needs that spring. Replacing this, there's a receiver for your spring. This one has ample amount of grease, which will help. And then we're going to go ahead and slide that handle in place, which is a nice snug fit, and we want to make sure that spring stays where it needs to be. Okay, and then as I put that up, I'm just going to support that spring so that it goes where it needs to be. You're going to retract it, push it back down into place. Now we need to replace that screw, which is your nice big pan head with the washer. Before I put that cover on, I'm just going to confirm operation. Okay, we're good there. Put our little cover plate back. Now, replacing our throttle arm, we're just going to feed that wire back. Put that in the 12 o'clock position. Now those screws were in the 12 and the 6 o'clock position. So I'm just going to go ahead and feed one screw through this washer. I'm going to feed that up into place. Let's see if I can't be lucky. Okay, don't tighten that first one all the way, because you want to be able to get this second screw lined up first. Okay, bottom's tight. top is tight. Get that guy to fit back in place. It actually has a keyway at the bottom right here that wants to line up with that in your gasket. Thankfully it has this little detail right there. You get that horizontal, that towards the bottom, you know you're snapped in. Our repair should be complete. We're locked. We're good. We have trim up. And we have trim down. Hope that helps you.